welcome to our tutorial for narrative design in games. This is just going to be like a short crash course to help you all out with like writing for your game jam, as well as writing for video games in the future if you do decide to come up with some exhilarating story. Hold up. So the first thing we're going to talk about is like what a narrative should do. In a broad general sense, I would say a narrative is like the way you express a human experience or an idea in a story, and this is not just a plot, which is a set of events that occur. It's there's more to it than just a set of like random events. So stories are more evocative because they have components surrounding these set of events, such as like conflicts or like themes, compelling characters, and so on. Say the story immerses and informs the audience about human experiences in a aesthetically pleasing medium, whether that be visual or audio or audio visual. So based on that, a game, the very first games ever invented. Does anyone want to guess what it was? The purpose of them? But the main point to take away from that is that they're instructional simulations, and they're meant to demonstrate the capability of something. So I have instructional and demonstrations highlighted in bold here, just for I'll explain that later. In the context of storytelling in the games, think of it like it's like a movie or a short film or a TV show, but you have the added element of gameplay. And the gameplay is essentially the instructional what's the instructional component of your storytelling. So the way you combine narratives in games. So I like to think of it as a narrative driven game is demonstrates the human experiences and ideas, and through the stories within a medium that incorporates the gameplay. So there are two ways to write for video games. A lot of people think that you should write a story first, and then after you have your whole story fleshed out, you insert your game mechanics and create the entirety of your game. I would say the industry standard would be to actually make the game mechanics first, because the selling point of a game is not necessarily your story or like the cinematography. It's more the fact that there's something to play and like there's engagement of the audience. So, and for the purpose of this game jam, I recommend, but you don't have to listen to me. I recommend you go game mechanics first, then you write a story around the game mechanics. If you decide to go the mechanics first route or the story first route, just the main thing to remember is that what the central experience of your game is what should be put first, because the things you surround it with are meant to be complementary. So if you think your gameplay is more important, just then focus on your mechanics first and design a story for that. So when writing your story, so I know this might be a lot to take in. Like you can take a picture later and don't worry too much about it. This is a game jam that's only 5 weeks long.
Something like that.
Okay.
2 months.
Okay, around 2 months. So you're not gonna write a Christopher Nolan. You're not gonna write Oppenheimer. I'll just say that. So I'll just go through each of the elements really briefly. Your characters is just who's within your story, like who's your protagonist, who are your enemies, who's your boss. Then the plot is the sequence of events that tell the narrative. That usually when you write a plot, you should have the main thing to have in mind is cause and effect. So just make sure everything makes sense, and when makes sense or has like a coherent explanation for like moving along the story. So themes will be something like more moral ideas or philosophical ideas that like give your story a deeper meaning. So an example of this, I hope if it, has anyone not watched Barbie, so just so I don't spoil things.
Oh, me.
Oh, just okay. What else? Has everyone here, is everyone here familiar with the game Fallout? Okay, so a theme of that game would be the failure of like politics to maintain humanity, hence it resulted in a nuclear war, and your world is centered around trying to navigate this entire expanse, and with the idea of like humans are terrible people, so this is the world we have as a result of it. So the tone, this would be the way your story treats the themes. So a good example of that is that is everyone familiar with the game Dying Light? And is everyone familiar with the game Sunset Overdrive? Okay, so both of those are based around like parkour mechanics and post apocalyptic settings, but Dying Light is a lot more sad and like depressive, while Sunset Overdrive takes a very cheery tone and approach towards how they view these themes. Point of view, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I think just so that everyone has a good sense of examples for this. I like to hope all of you know what a first-person shooter is. Okay, so no need to explain that. You guys know what third-person limited means? Okay, so that's third-person limited just means it's from the third person's perspective, but you only are aware of one character's thoughts. So a game of such would be the first Last of Us game, because you only follow one character from the third person. And the last type of game would be third person omniscient. Third person omniscient would be you see everything from the third person, but you see many characters. So think of like Dark Pictures Anthology or Until Dawn. So conflict, this would be the driving force behind your narrative that gives your story like a sense of tension and like interest, or a sense of like trying to overcome something. So good examples would be like in Far Cry 3, you're stranded on a holiday island, and then a psychopath starts like killing you and your friends, or you're trapped on a spaceship full of necromorphs, and you have to find a way to get off, like in Dead Space. Setting, this is like the backdrop that influences the atmosphere and the mood, and like it sets the scene for allowing certain things to happen. So, and a good example would be if you put Grand Theft Auto in Amsterdam, it's not really going to work, just because not enough crime happens there that you would hope for. I mean, not that that's a bad thing, but like you need to create a setting for your game that matches what is going on, just so that there's a sense of coherence in your and builds the atmosphere of your world. Don't overthink this all for like the game jam. Just try to like have one sentence for each of these things when you're creating like a small game. Okay, when combining a story and gameplay, so the main thing to keep in mind is that your game mechanics is the mechanism for overcoming the conflict within the story. So your gameplay loop or your gameplay mechanics should revolve around, for example, in the jam I did last year, it's about a chameleon trying to redeem karma for his entire species, just because they used to be dragons and started burning down lots of other groups of zodiac animals. I'll say your conflict is just supposed to add tension, and the game mechanics is how you try to relieve that sense of tension throughout the game. So this is just the writing guide for the exercise we're gonna do a bit later. There's this. Whoops. You need to charge your laptop, man. Okay, so This is just a simple three section plot. Just basically just keep in mind the beginning is like exposition. That's just where you lay out your setting, you lay out your world, and like just try to give your audience a sense of what they're being thrown into. The middle is when like the conflict suddenly starts to rev up, and like your story starts to progress, and then it's just your resolution. And I just put left those elements of story just for like reminders. All right, so now we're going to do an exercise or a few exercises. So you don't have to do this in any particular order. You don't have to follow these prompts like 100%. But the first exercise is you come up with gameplay ideas for a story. It doesn't have to be any of these stories. The second exercise is that you can come up with a story based on the gameplay loop ideas. So you like I said, you can follow whatever TV shows or game mechanics you think of. You can go ahead and try to make a story or a game mechanic for that. And yeah. Hi everybody. So it's towards the end of the tutorial already. You're welcome to leave, but if anyone wants to come up here and share what you've come up with to inspire everybody, you're more than welcome. I know Richard has something really great. If you want, no pressure.
Yeah, like can I stay back here?
All right, no worries.
Okay, thank you for thinking it was great.
Okay.
Hi everybody. My name's Richard. I am a game designer, so that's I was inspired by the Toy Story one, like my first task, and then took it a different direction because the central theme of Toy Story, of course, is coming to grips with changes in your personal status and change in general. So I said, well, let's take that and let's put that into kind of stock standard medieval fantasy kind of thing, so I don't have to worry about the setting at all. And so I said, all right, let's tell a game about an elected leader who's coming to grips with the fact that some legendary hero or something has pulled a sword from the stone and therefore is going to be a leader as well. And so they need to share power. And they need to come to sort of a peaceful resolution. So the elected leader needs to, in the end of the game, they need to be able to be friends or an ally with this person. They also need to train them up because this person's a crap leader, just a legendary hero who needs to come to grips with the fact that they're not heroing anymore. They need to be a politician. So the whole game, beginning of the story, so the second task, is legendary hero. The thing happens, they're going to be a leader, then disappears because he really doesn't want to be a leader anymore, and the people blame the current leader, and he's like, oh crap, I'm going to go find this person, and so those two are off in the kingdom somewhere, lost, and they need to get back to the castle before the next election. And in order to win, you need to win your election, which means you need to be popular again, and you need to get the legendary hero to be a good leader instead of a crap leader. And that's really about it. You gotta prevent a civil war, which would happen if they want to follow the legendary hero instead of yourself. So that'd be the game. 1 to 2 player kind of game. I'm a tabletop game designer as well, so I'm pitching this physical. But yeah, it worked as a story.
Okay.
Middle of the game, of course, you're doing quests, helping people out on the way back. You've got a time limit for all of this because, of course, you've got to get back before the election. Yeah, there's different factions, of course. You have to balance different kinds of quests you're doing as well because the story would emerge about different problems different factions are having with each other, etc., etc. So it's really a game about balancing these needs and servicing them as you gain your own reputation. And not relying too much on your own skills, and instead relying on the skills of the legendary hero whilst you train them up as well to be like you. And then at the end of the game, you either won or you didn't because you got back in time, and you were able to gain enough votes to be the re-elected leader, as well as having the legendary hero join you, as opposed to being shunned and wanting to start a revolution or go off and hide. So that's that game.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. That was an amazing story. Not a sarcastic collab. So that's the end of our tutorial. You're always this will be recorded and put into a Google Drive.
Yes.
Okay, and it'll be shared with everybody. So if you didn't come up with something today, don't worry about it. You can always do it later. And if you're not interested in stories, sorry I didn't inspire you today, but